In a restaurant downtown Chicago, this glass of wine stopped us in our tracks.
And it wasn't from France, it was from Sicily, from Mount Etna, a live volcano.
That wine changed everything for us.
And today we'll take you all the way to Sicily, to the winery that captured its magic. Here on the slopes of Mount Etna, you'll meet the man who arrived 25 years ago and never left, crafting mesmerizing wines from tiny parcels with Burgundy-like precision, a place where wine becomes an echo of the mountain itself, wines you simply have to experience at least once in your life.
Christian, I am looking at this bottle. This is the bottle that we drank. Well, not exactly this one. This is 2021. We were drinking the 2012 in a beautiful, small little restaurant in Chicago. We had never experienced the wine from Sicily. That was the first one. And that's planted the seed in our quest that we have to find out more about this wine. Been here now over a week, and we cannot get out of the spell of Mount Etna.
I guess since inception, since the Greek came, Etna has its, big impact on the civilization, because since the Greek came, they started planting vineyards on the Etna. And for some special reason, because the soils of Etna have some kind of magic. Wherever you plant there is something special, be it tomatoes, avocado, or vines. When Marco came in Sicily, Marco, the owner of Terre Nere, came to Sicily and found out how beautiful the wines from Etna were. So he was meant to leave, but then he was convinced by his very old friend Salvo Foti to buy a parcel on Etna. And that parcel is exactly the wine you like.
The wine that brought us here?
Correct. It was the wine that brought Marco on Etna.
Oh, wow.
That's
amazing.
Yes.
So there is a pool, huh?
Yeah.
I think we speak the same language.
Yes, and it's amazing that you felt the urge to come and check it out, just as Marco did. As the wine that made Etna. I mean, it might be a bold statement, but without Guardiola, which means without Marco, Etna wouldn't be this place today. Wow. So it's
and we would not have been here either.
Yeah, exactly. See, so it all circles back.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So tell me a little bit more about Marco. So he came then to this area. Where did he come from? What did he discover, and what made him decide to stay?
As one of those one-of-a-kind genius that has really big intuitions, but not like 1 or 2 years before it happens, but 20, 25 years before. So what he wrote in his first bottle that he produced 20 years ago, in 23 years ago, in 2002. And this is a testament of his vision. And 23 years ago, he said here that for the extreme diversification of its soils and for its microclimates and for the extraordinary finesse of its wines, Etna has to be considered the Burgundy of Mediterranean. Now imagine coming into a bulk wine region and say, well,
say
guys,
something like that.
This is Burgundy. You're either crazy or you have a big vision. He fell in love with this, complexity, but most than everything, with this amazing ancient tradition of viticulture. And if viticulture is so old and so well maintained, all the terroirs well maintained, on Etna we have a lot of very old vines, 100, 120, 160 years old vines. How is it possible that the wine in the bottle was not up to those viticulture standards? And that's, light up the spark in Marco, that something could be made to make things really excellent, not just good, but excellent. His first wine in 2002, Guardiola, was actually, he felt that the wine was amazing. And he has such a beauty and has such a potential. Then he decided, you know, either make or break, and he decided to make. Inspiration that Marco had on me personally actually was felt, you know, throughout Etna. You know, there are 169 producers, I think, as today. You know, at the time when Marco came, probably was less than 10. So, you know, there is a thing that really, it's not just the place, but when you have a person which is an ambassador, but also very inspirational, magically things happen. It's not everywhere that you can get, you know, some minerals from the belly of the earth down in dust size on vineyards, on whatever, you know, it's plantable and cultivable. So it's something really special that we got. And this affects everything, you know, affects the flavors, affects, you know, the bouquet, whatever you kind of taste or smell.
And it's indeed so special because it is alive. Even now, the last couple of days, we had some rain, and you can see the ash of the drops just on your car. So these soils are still being fed today.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, we say that Etna is a big mama. You can feel the thrill when you're in Etna and you see, you know, the smoke coming out. And so the DOC is roughly 1,100 hectares, so it's not a big DOC. But it's very segmented, and the reason why it's so segmented, it's, you know, what Marco's intuition came up with in 2002 is because the Etna, you have to imagine, it's just like a big lasagna, you know, with many, you know, layers of, you know, lava flows, you know, overlapping. But depending on the erosion and on the specific type of lava flow, you know, some might emerge instead of the others. So you have plenty, really a patchwork of completely different soils.
Of these different layers shining through, I guess.
Exactly, and that led, you know, to the diversification of the contradas. There are a lot of terraces. You know, the soils are very, very difficult because some are really stony, others are so soft that you go calf deep into it, and it's difficult to work into them.
But you have your classic wines, and then you have your Premier Cru. And then you have your Grand Cru.
Yes.
And we're sitting here in royalty because we have two Grand Cru bottles. All of a sudden, when I saw these bottles, I felt I have to straighten, I straightened my color a little bit and everything because I am in very, very impressive company.
The idea, even the label, is very much like Burgundy. So there is a lot of inspiration drawn from Burgundy because it's one of, if not the best place on earth. So the idea behind this is to let the customers know what kind of quality they're gonna get. This is what we use internally. And for the clients, there is no official classification of Premier Cru, Grand Cru within the appellation. But this comes from a very natural statement, which is that not all the soils are born equal. When you micro-vinify, you know, each contrada separately, and within each contrada, each parcel separately, and within each parcel, each segment, each patch of that, you know, patchwork you have within the same vineyard separately, you understand a lot of things. Because we produce 15 different wines, and we have 105, 110 different micro-vinifications.
So we have these different contradas, you have these unique parcels within the contradas, and you basically apply the microvinification on each one of these plots.
If you really want to show an identification of the wine with the terroir, you need to know how does that specific terroir react to the different, you know, weather condition, different type of vintages, you know. So only by that you get to know that, you know, that wine. And the wine is clearly identifiable.
The village is then the blend from the different contradas? Or?
Yes, different plots, different altitudes, different soils, different age of the vines. The village is also the most difficult wine to produce. Because when you have a great vineyard, like a Grand Cru vineyard, you know, you might not make a great wine the first year, you might not make it the second year, but the third year, eventually you're gonna make it. Because it's the vineyard.
Yeah. Exactly.
But when you have like such a big variety of situation, here is the winemaker's skills to make really a fine wine. And a wine that expresses first the vintage, second the philosophy of the estate. So the village for us is our interpretation of Nerello Mascalese according to that specific vintage. Marco's always been for wines which could be approachable straight away, consumer friendly. Even if those are wines that can age for 20, 30, 40 years, they must be drunk even young, and they must be pleasant even young. This has always been his philosophy. We have an internal lab, so we're able to check the parameters. But the math and statistics is one thing, but then gets in the personal taste. Marco's personal taste, again, it's very Burgundian. It's like a painter, it's like, you have different, it's like, Van Gogh, you have a different degrees of yellows, but only that specific yellow matches his identity, And same is, for winemaking. You have like all this palette of reds, but you have to choose that specific that matches you and your vision. We're very happy to have all wines sold out every single year. So there wasn't really a need for another investment. You do this not because of money, you do it because of passion and because you want to get things better and more in line with what's your ideal. Viticulture has always been the job of making the places better and to leave an heritage. It's important for us to be consistent. Now, once you get to be known everywhere in the world, what you need to do is to keep the quality high and not to fall in the greed, eager to sell and to make money. Because wine is, if you want to make money, wine is the least thing you should do. Either you go into and produce millions and millions of bottles, then that's another thing. But if you produce 200, 300,000 bottles, you do it, for passion and for making, a vision come alive. If you by tasting these wines, you taste something that it's unforgettable. And if you come to see where these wines come from, it's going to be truly an unforgettable experience.
Now that you know how Etna's volcanic slopes became the Burgundy of Sicily with Terre Nere, you're going to need to meet the winery that gave these same slopes a poetic soul. Don't miss a story of how the mystique, art, and wine come together in a way unlike anything else on Etna. And we'll tell you all about it right here.